Some final takeaways from a series that has now gone final. The Boston Celtics knock off the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs in only 5 games. Boston has won both of their 2 playoff series in 5 games after uncharacteristically, or maybe what has become a common occurrence, losing in game number 2 as a heavy home favorite. We'll talk about Boston in just a moment, but DRS, a lot of reporting about the Cavaliers from FanDuel TV. Shams Charania, our guy, after the Cavs had their season come to a close here in only 5 games in the second round. Of course, we did not see Donovan Mitchell in games 4 or 5. There is a report that J.B. Bickerstaff, the head coach in Cleveland, is on his way out the door, that some of the vets like Spida and others did not care for his coaching style. There was a report that Evan Mobley's agent told Cleveland not to draft him in the top 5 back in 2021 so he could go to a place like Oklahoma City. And Darius Garland's agent is telling people that if Spida returns to the land, that Garland's going to look for a new NBA organization. One of my favorite things about the NBA, the offseason drama almost outweighs even a playoff appearance for an NBA franchise. And as soon, and I mean literally as soon as a season comes to a close, all of these storylines that have apparently been building up over a season or multiple just come flooding out.
Yeah, exactly. And this is sometimes we talk about where the offseason just as entertaining as maybe a deep playoff run for a basketball organization. But are we turning into the NBA now as, and again, it's been changing this way. Look, I don't like my coach. Let me just get one of my friends in here as a coach. And if you want to keep me as a superstar, you can't have the coach. This is one of the few leagues that can actually do that for a player. So if, let's just say Donovan Mitchell goes, unless you change the coaches, I'm going to demand a trade or I'm out of here. Do you know what's going to happen? Donovan Mitchell's not going to be out of there. The coach is going to be gone. If he wants to stay in Cleveland, he will be there. But if he wants to leave, there's nothing really you can do. Same thing that we saw with Dame Lillard. Now, depending on where you go and that exact destination you want to get to, typically NBA players can choose that destination. But we saw last year, Dame wanted to go to Miami, and everybody thought he was going to Miami at the last minute. True. We're talking football, and it's like, oh, look at this trade that just went down. Dame went to Milwaukee. So be careful what you ask for at this point if you're Donovan Mitchell. But the NBA superstars do hold all the cards in their organization. That's true.
So that's the Cleveland side of things. The Cavaliers now enter the offseason. Boston into the Eastern Conference Finals for a 3rd consecutive year. This was anticipated. Boston entered the year as a co-favorite alongside Dame and the Bucks to win the East, a co-favorite to win the NBA championship. That is the evaluation piece for the Celtics. That is the threshold by which we judge the C's. In Boston now, 8-2 in the postseason, covering in 6 of those 8 victories. The Celtics were the NBA's best team all season long. They have earned home floor advantage throughout the Eastern Conference and even in to the NBA Finals. After the win last night over the Cavs, Boston is now 41-6 straight up this year inside TD Garden. 25, 20, and 2 against the spread, booked as a favorite in each of those games at home in Beantown, where in the postseason, Donnie, Boston has been at least a 13-point favorite inside TD Garden. The favorites remain the favorites, entering the Eastern Conference Finals, where they await the winner of the series between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. Game 6, by the way, in Indy tomorrow night on a Friday evening. In Boston right now, the best price we have seen for a team to win the NBA title this season, -155.
Yeah, and by the way, that number is a little bit higher than I thought it would be this morning because it was supposed to be a foregone conclusion yesterday that they would win. The interesting part is, obviously, with the FanDuel Sportsbook, they're not just looking at the Boston Celtics. It's who they might match up against. And I wonder if it was like, okay, we know Dallas is good, but OKC, technically the better team over the Dallas Mavericks. They lost that game, so maybe a little bit extra push for the Boston Celtics. I can't imagine that -1. Again, at -155 does surprise me a little bit because we expect the Boston Celtics to continue to move forward. I don't know how much deeper this number can actually get. Like, it can't go to a -200 price. That doesn't even make any sense at this point. So I'm a little bit flummoxed at this -155. I thought it would stay in that -140-ish range, but yet here we are. A lot more money coming in on the Boston Celtics and a lot more belief.
So the last few days we've had the conversation, how large do these numbers get? How strong is the price in favor of Boston? I agree with you, Donnie. I don't think it has much more to go before Boston reaches the NBA Finals. If they were to play the Denver Nuggets, could it approach minus 200? If they were to play any other team, the Mavericks or the Thunder, would it be greater than 2 bills? Probably, just because of the questions we have about both of those NBA teams. But at the moment, I don't expect it to be any better than minus 155 as we await the winner of the series between the Knicks and the Pacers. But we did say we weren't sure we were going to see the Celtics get much stronger than a minus 600, minus 650, minus 700 favorite to win the East. They're almost a 10-1 favorite in minus money at minus 950. Is that the favored price for Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals? Will that be what the series outright number is, regardless of who the Celtics face?
It probably will be at this point, depending on what news we get back, right? If it's the Pacers, I don't know how that number changes all that much, but we're trying to focus on the Knicks right now and what we're going to get out of OG Anunoby moving forward, because that'll be a much more competitive series with him in the lineup. But there is no stop. Like, I think there's a stop number on the NBA championship odds here, FanDuel, for the Boston Celtics. There's not really a stop number here on the Eastern Conference, because what have we been preaching? And this hasn't even been like, oh, once the playoffs started. When we started really talking NBA, like late September, it's like the season is here. We always thought it was 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. It was Milwaukee and it was Boston. And through about halfway through the season, let's be kind here for Milwaukee before they fell off making the coaching change, it turned into, the final couple months of the season is all about the Celtics just making the NBA Finals, because that's a foregone conclusion. So I agree with the pricing here. Minus 950, who would take that? Well, if you have a lot of shoebox money under your bed, you just want to make a quick investment, take the Boston Celtics. They're getting to the NBA Finals. Doesn't matter the price.
It's what... For sure. It's why I bet Boston on March 20th to win the NBA championship at a plus 220 number, because you could read the tea leaves about how the Eastern Conference might set up for the C's. I didn't think it would be this easy of a stroll, certainly not with Joel Embiid returning for Philadelphia, or the New York Knicks looking like world beaters before they lost OG Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson. But that's where things are for Boston at this moment. On the other side, the Denver Nuggets, an odds-on favorite once again to win the Western Conference crown at minus 135. There is no doubt that the toughest possible opponent for Boston is Denver. Maybe from the odds maker's perspective, that would certainly be the case. You could argue maybe you would favor the Timberwolves or the Thunder or even the Mavs in a matchup, but the odds makers would have Denver as the shortest underdog against the Celtics in a potential NBA championship series. Of course, we have only one game tonight in the NBA playoffs. I hope you enjoyed last night, the Wednesday night doubleheader, because, Donnie, that's the last time I think we see a doubleheader of NBA playoff action throughout this postseason or the entirety of the NBA campaign. Tonight, only one game. Back to the Twin Cities we go. The Timberwolves trying to stave off elimination, booked as a 2.5-point home favorite in game number 6.
Yeah, and it is a shame of that too, but it's what happens when you go towards a championship. Less and less teams are involved, so we don't have those NBA triple headers, which we were loving, the double headers, a lot of good stuff to talk about, playoffs on the line. It's why we always root sometimes as content people, saying to ourselves, you know what? If this goes, it's supposed to close out in 5, but we get game 6. We love that. Same thing in hockey. Like, just extend these series, gives us a lot more fun things to talk about. And also, when we talk about fun things, there's nothing really fun about the Eastern Conference right now. It's Boston. Just move them into the NBA Finals, where we're really sinking our teeth here into the Western Conference. Let's see if we can get some game 7s in the Western Conference to at least keep the ability to have a night-to-night basis talking big-time NBA basketball.
And I think there's a chance that both of these sets go to 7. Again, Denver, the underdog, on the road tonight with a win. The Nuggets back into the Western Conference Finals for a second straight year. Minnesota, with a win, would force a Game 7 at altitude this weekend in the Mile High City. In game number 6 between OKC and Dallas, in Dallas, is on Saturday night.